Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
We're going to check the FX workbook sheet for see what we have for news today. We had some news earlier in the evening. I should say early this morning, 3:30. We had some impact news with the euro. We have some coming up. We had some at 5 o'clock with the euro as well. And then we have some coming up here right around 8:15. So we'll be looking at the US dollar somewhere around 8:15. We may get some impact. I'm not sure how much that's going to impact us, but we'll be looking at that a little bit today. And then later on this afternoon and evening, we've got some more news. It sounds like President Biden's going to be speaking, and we'll see what he has to say. And that's about it for the news. Nothing too earth-shattering. We had an alert. The last alert we have right now I'm showing is the U.S. Swiss. We'll take a look at that. I did see this one earlier. Actually, this is one that I was just looking at, and the Euro US, and really nothing's happening there right now. So let's just go and take a look at the U.S. Swiss. And we can see where we are in a, we are in an uptrend. You can see we're making some new levels of green zones. So it is still in an uptrend. We would like to wait. And you can also look and see when you start seeing this moving average, this purple moving average, that's a 200. You see how the price still keeps, and did kind of reach it right here where it formed another zone. But you can see where this blue moving average never really crossed over the purple one. And all that says is that when you see that happening, you see price going down, that's just basically a retracement. And that's where you want to be real careful about looking for a reversal. You see where it came very close to looking like everything was going to reverse and then just takes off again. So this still has some upward pressure. And the US dollar is right now, it's showing some relatively weak. And the Swiss is showing weakness as well. So I'm not looking at this. This thing looks like it could be getting near the end of its run. We do have an up arrow. We do have a little target up here. I don't know if there's enough. We did have a bounce. Here's the arrow. Here's the go. It could come up and retest this zone, which actually may not be too bad of a possibility. See if there's enough room to the upside from where the arrow is. Arrow to the zone. We've got, it may look like a lot of room, but it's only 10 pips to the upside. So I mean, basically this thing pulled back. It came up, found the sellers up here, came on down. And from this whole move here to here is only 26 pips. It's retraced about 2/3 of that already. This thing could very well start looking at coming to it may come up here and retest it again. You may, if you want to take it long, you certainly could. I wouldn't go for 20 pips. I'd only go for maybe 10, enough to where you have a little bit of here's your peak, had a nice pullback. Maybe get a little bit of a slope down, just about, maybe about like that, to where you have this little wick up here. It may come up and retest this closed candle. And I say this is a possibility of a trade, but I don't expect you to get 20 pips out of this. It's given up a lot of the dollar's given up a lot of its strength after this move. This is all in the overnight session, pulled back. London opened up, came up, brought back to this zone right here. And it did break yesterday's money zone, not by a lot. So it did make a new high, pulled back. And the fact it has such a long move before, it looks like this thing could be starting to fizzle out a little bit and maybe start This was the first indication that this upward move is coming closer to an end. I'm not going to take it. There's just not enough room to the target, and it is in an uptrend. I think it's probably a good chance you may get 5 pips out of it, but I'm just going to keep my powder dry on that one. And that's the US Swiss. Any questions about that?
We're good over here.
Let's see, did we manage to get the green light on the Excel sheet that shows the pip values? I'm not sure what Excel sheet you're talking about. The pip values. You're talking about the
calculator.
You're talking about the calculator. You're talking about the what are you talking about this? I'm not sure which one.
The heat map.
Oh, didn't quite catch what you said there, Christine.
Oh, I said I was just trying to help you out. I thought you were going to say the heat map.
Oh.
No, I think he's talking about the
calculator.
Yeah, the calculator.
I think what we've decided that I'm not sure what Auvoria Prime's done with it so far, but Brian and I are working on a project to make that heat map available and also the calculator. We'll just make them both available at the same time. And we're just going to figure out a way of making that do. And I'm talking to Anthony. I'm trying to get, he's going to get back with me this week, and I'll try again today to talk to him. But we're going to try and get that heat map and that relative currency strength indicator. We're going to try and make that available. And we'll probably just do it through Anthony and whatever we have to do to make it happen, so you guys can get a hold of it. And hopefully I'll have some news for you by the next day or two. And as far as the calculator goes, I said we'll just have to figure out how we're going to be able to distribute that. I'll check with Bill Wynn today and see if he's got any news on that. They're going to try and put it in the back office, and we'll see if they're able to do so. And let's see where else we had this. Let me mark this. This is where the arrow was. This is a nice little bounce arrow go. Like I said, the only problem is I'm not sure how high this thing's going to go. But I say that is a tradable trade. I just don't expect to take a lot. Any other questions? Back to that heat map, I was going to look and see what we're going to be focusing on right now is we're looking at which currency seems to be the strongest. And right now on the 1 hour, which is this upper left-hand one, 1 hour, British pound strong, 30-minute, the British pound New Zealand. So basically, the pound and New Zealand are the two strongest. Pound New Zealand CAD. So basically, these three seem to be consistent. And I don't put a whole lot of weight on the 5 minute other than for where it's starting to maybe for a retracement. If these are all strong and this one's starting to turn back, you look at that more of a retracement. As long as the 1 hour and the 30-minute stay somewhat stabilized, then I look anything over on this side. I look as if it starts changing, I'm looking at more of a pullback, and then looking for a place to maybe take a better position to get a better position. But right now we're looking at strength of the British pound, CAD, and New Zealand. So what we can do is we can go, while we're waiting for an alert, we can go to the British pound, pound CAD. We don't want to do the pound CAD because they're both strong, but like a pound yen, we may look at that. The yen is sort of on the weaker one. And let's see, we're on 15-minute. I should make sure I've got on all my charts correctly. Double check the time frames. There we go. Pound Swiss might be a possibility. That's coming up into the zone. While we're here, we might as well mark and see which our direction is. I'm going to guess the pound is the stronger one. Those are up arrows over here. It looks like a little bit of a W coming in, but it's going to have to come up through there. The pound is stronger to the Swiss, and by quite a bit, actually. but we don't have any indication to take a trade on that one yet. But we'll keep that in mind. And it says coming right up into a supply zone, a place where we may get a bounce off of that. Again, you can see where a lot of the moves, one thing about with this arrow indicator, it was originally designed for trading during the London session. That was primarily before Auvoria Prime got involved with the developer on this one. He pretty much only traded the British pairs against the other currencies, taking it to the beginning of the London session, which is, for us, it's in the middle of the night. For most of us, if you're in Europe, you're in good shape. And then he would be looking at the overnight highs and lows, would get the breakout, and then take the trade. That's where most of the moves you see on a lot of these, with this indicator, you can see a lot of the moves happen during this time. We have developed some other strategies, some other pairs, but just keep in mind that when these things get developed and you start adding different pairs and different strategies to it, it does sort of change things a little bit. And everything needs to have its own algorithm to be able to, even though things are generally the same, certain pairs and indices and cryptos and everything else, they just move differently. And so you have to, a lot of times you have to make those adjustments. But just keep in mind that we've changed some of the strategies. We've added strategies to these things, which is helpful. But that's why it's important to be able to understand the different pairs and the price action that may develop. There's a Euro CAD. Let's take a look at that one.
Yeah, that's for sure. Everything's a little different, right?
Yeah, and and the thing is, when a lot of these programs get developed, there's a tool in MetaTrader 4 which is to develop these strategies. And what you do is you plug in your strategy, you plug in your indicators, and you can optimize it. And you can optimize these things to where they, over the last 6 months or a year, you can optimize it where if you have this stop and this target over the last 6 months or a year, then you can optimize it where you win 90% of the time, which is great. But the problem with that is that's all past performance. And as markets change, so does that performance. And you can optimize things to 90%, but you could still end up losing money moving forward because it's optimized, especially when you're looking at different pairs and things like that. Different pairs act differently. So they almost have to be optimized to specifics and with a shorter time period within the time with the type of cycles that we're in at the time. Again, that's another reason to understand technical analysis, because the technical analysis doesn't usually change much. Price action doesn't generally change much. Indicator values and how the indicators perform does, but that's why I don't like using a lot of indicators. I use a few things just strictly for direction, but it's the price action that usually makes more of a factor to me than what the indicators are saying. Indicators generally are a sign of past performance. Yeah, that's about all I can say about that. So
That's
like I said,
pretty good.
when we get these alerts, we learn that the alerts bring our eye to the chart. They give us an idea about maybe it's going to work. And often, these things they're not so tightly optimized to where, we have a 40 pip stop, we have a 20 pip target. And so that's pretty liberal, generic area to be able to take a trade and still stay out of harm's way, giving it the flexibility. But that's where you have to learn to accept that volatility to be able to stay in the trades long enough to see it through. Is a downtrend, down arrow? Yes, Eva.
Could you just bring CB over as well, please?
Oh yeah, thank you. CB, here we go. I think this is him. And I think we got him. There he is. Good morning, CB. Welcome aboard.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning, CV.
And you're okay. This is the one. Okay, right now we're in a zone. We're in a downtrend in a zone pretty tight zone. Again, nothing much here. And so we're just like hunters. We just sit and wait for the right trade to come by, and then we jump on the trade, try and get one good trade a day, and you're done. Let's look at the gold. I know we have some people that like to trade gold. Definitely in a downtrend, in a very tight range. You can see it's been really hanging out very tightly with between, looks like 1687 and well, even like this range right here. It seems to be playing pretty much inside this range. 1687 to 16, that's a $10 range. That's not too bad actually. And that's pretty tight. $10 on gold is quite a relatively tight range on that. Not really going anywhere. And I'm not going to take that trade. And what else do we have? US Swiss, take a look at that one. I think we already did. We'll take a look at it again.
Yeah, I'll have my charts up in a minute. I'll see if we
Okay.
can set up a nice trade there for the people.
Yeah, so here's the US Swiss. We have up arrow. Yeah, this is the one we said we only had about 5 pips to the upside. This would be the target area. And let's see, let's get a, let's see, what was that?
That's the German.
That's a German?
Just got the alert for a German, or an alert for the German. Yeah.
The German 30?
Yeah.
That's one that we, why did I not get it? Was that a 5-minute?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
You're
I'm
on
on
the
the 15. That's why. Looks like we got an alert to come right on up into a red zone. Let's see what our trend is on this. We are in an uptrend. We can move these on up. I think moved quite a bit there.
Wow.
We are in an uptrend. Here's somewhere the alert. Here's where the target would be. And we were in an uptrend. Arrow up.
Yeah, I'm in love with the indices now.
Are you?
Oh yeah, like
Convert.
absolutely. Yeah, I know. It's a big deal.
So now you can see the draw, right?
Well, it is.
I don't like taking this trade. Just we do have one thing I'm looking at on this. I'm looking at see where the body of the candle over here to the left is. That's right.
Yeah.
Should be this one right
This
here.
is
That's
a
where the
hard
highest
no
body.
for me.
Yeah, this is a hard no for me too. I would expect. I'm looking at this thing maybe a bounce coming on down. There would be a little bit more room to the downside. This could be almost like a bank induction. We almost had it right here with this candle. It just barely didn't get into that zone. And we have a little trend line coming from, here's a trend here. Here's the hit. Here's the, if it comes on up and retests this trend line, we have a little bit of a lower, that was a little breach of the wick, but we had came up here to this, right here into this wick area, came right on up, rejected it, came back up, rejected the trend line. Coming up, if it rejects the trend, if we can get a bank induction coming on up here with that would be a contra trend trade, but on these indexes, it may not be a overall bad deal. I'm gonna move this over here. Here's the anchor. There's a hit. Here's the test of the trend line. And we also have another trend line coming up from the bottom. This is where the wedges come into play. I like when I draw these wedges, I like having an anchor. I see where this was a hit, and I see where this one came. It broke the plane of, actually it's pretty much right in the same price range. If you put this right down here on this wick, it still made a little bit of a higher high, but when you look at it, it's like the trend line from this one didn't come down. This one came out to retest more of a test of the trend line. That validates the trend line more to me. Now this could be a couple different ways of looking at this. You can look at
I like the flat top wedge there, Al, going from that high that's deeper in.
this from this one.
Ye-
This one.
Yeah,
Oh.
more like the flat, like from there, from the left higher.
This one here.
Yeah, from there. That's kind of what I.
Yeah. Plus, this was all in the zone. We had a high, came back out. It couldn't. It had a nice rejection off of that. It
did.
rejected twice. It kind of developed the trend line. The other part is that here we have our anchor, the hit, and the hit retest. Now it could come back up and retest this area right here, but still be within the zone. The other thing I like is that we have the anchor. Now we could have taken using this for a hit, and then now we have the breach.
Mm.
If we move it up like this, here's the anchor, here's the hit, here's the rejection, came back up, retested, and took off. But you can see where this is where it's kind of like a trap. This point right here is still a little bit lower than this, although if you follow the trend line, it looks to me like, well, here was a rejection that never got back, but now, so basically what's happening is that it's still forming lower highs and higher lows. This low here is still a little bit higher than this one, but we did have the break. This is where the head fakes oftentimes come in. Now, if it comes down and breaks the bottom of this blue line, now we may have another, but now we have another zone right here. So what I could see a challenge of this trend line up here. As you can see, it's starting to, you can just sort of just tweak it here a little bit. Here's the anchor. Here's a hit, rejection. Came up here. We'll see if this rejects. If this rejects and comes back down, we could probably get a move down, come back, bounce off of this zone, which means there's really not much of a trade here. Either way, there's not much of a trade other than playing the odds that take it short here and take it long down here. But it's going to have to get through this whole region right here. Plus you have the moving average, 200 moving average coming on up. And this is going to pretty much sandwich these two moving averages into a sideways zone. So again, these are reasons to not take the trade, or if you're going to take the trade, I'd be looking at taking it short up here, taking it long down here, and that would still give you, say from 1508 to 1493, 8, 7, 15, basically about $15 move between here and here. Not a huge move when I talk about the indexes, but that's basically what you'd be looking at. Right now, I'm seeing it inside a zone, inside the wedge. Once it gets further out here, we may have a little bit more of a deciding factor what it's going to be doing. But if we were to be taking a drawing of a wedge, this would be where the stick comes in that Matt often talks about. Let's make this and a little bit wider here. We take the stick and we find out where this wedge is. And I like finding usually like the midpoint, somewhere around the midpoint where the last rejection was. I'll take it on up to here, take it down to here. And then we see where this thing breaks out. If it breaks out to the upside, it could go on up to that area. Maybe just right to the top of that. And then if it breaks to the downside, depending on where it breaks, it could come back down and retest the moving average or the lower. Anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at with that. Anyway, right now it's no trade. And any other questions?
No, just
waiting around to see what happens here.
Yeah, just looking for the right setup.
Yeah, we can go through and just look at some of the other pairs. How about New Zealand, Swiss? See what I kind of like trading inside during the time frame of the major markets. In this case, right now, we're still looking at the European pair. Let's see. Let's see. How about Cat Swiss? Let's see what Cat Swiss is doing. That's one of those problem children that we have, I think, for anybody that's in Gearbox. Let's take some of the stuff off of here. Now the cat is relatively strong. Swiss is relatively weak. So we would be wanting to trade this to the upside. If it can break, we are in an uptrend, and you can see where it's building up some new. Here's my arrow from yesterday. You can see it build another zone. So we move that up, and we have see if we have any zones up above. We are in an uptrend. It seems like looks like it's kind of making some new highs. Cat Swiss. Let me pull that one up to the Cat Swiss. Let's move this over. Put this on a. It is certainly in an uptrend, looking for a pullback on it right now. Try and find out where the high, where we can expect the high of this thing to go. So I'm going to look at a higher time frame. You see where it took over, it breached over this high, is rejected. This was a zone that looks like it's been penetrated, so it's still going higher. You see where it just went right up the top of that, and we come over here and see if we can find out any place where it may have. Let's get to a daily chart. Here we are. See where the price is right now. We have some wicks over here. Look and see where this strong move down was, which is right here. We've already breached that, and then we have the high before that. So right now I'm looking at this zone for a high. Looking at this one, previous high that's been breached, and right now you can see where it's inside of this area right here. If it can break that, the next stop is going to be up over here. And you can see that we had a little bit of a nice little trend line from here to here down, strong move down, and then it probably broke way over here someplace. So from this trend, I kind of like from this area, this one right here. Take it from that, see how many of those I can hit, see the hit, so here you can see, whoops. So you can see here's the anchor, here's a hit, here's a hit, here's a hit. Strong move down, came back up, couldn't make it. And here's where it broke, right around this area. And this is where it started the new uptrend. This is where it broke the downtrend, broke it. And now it's coming up to retest all this over in here. This was the main area where it said, okay, I'm giving it up. Until then, it was just sort of a little bit of a sideways, and then it just dropped right off the cliff. And I'm guessing this was back in probably around in, that was last year, a year ago. So it's retesting, no, last year, about a year ago, it's testing the highs of that right now. Moving to a 1 hour chart. Now we know where upper zones are. We know where the targets are. Now now we're just basically waiting to see where it's going to pull back. Right, but it still has some, there's nothing here showing me that this is ready to give it up other than to catch pullbacks on the way up still. And you can see it hasn't really closed above where this red zone is. It hasn't closed above. It just sort of poked its nose up above it and then gave it up. So there's some sellers coming in right around in this area. And so whenever you see a pullback, I'd say right now this is you only to buy the pullbacks when it pulls back to this trend line. It pulls back to there, we may have a trade. Then there's also another little more shallower trend in there. If it breaks this one, this will be the next target. And that's about all we can say about that one. US yen, looks like we have an alert on the US yen. Get my phone up here so I can get these alerts.
Yeah, I'm not getting a whole bunch of alerts today.
No, I'm thinking it's going to be kind of slow. No, well,
Well,
I
we're
say
getting. Go
today's
ahead.
the end of the
Yeah,
month.
right there.
It's the middle of the week, end of the month.
NFP's coming up, so.
Let's
Oh
see, we
no,
are.
it's not, is it?
What was that?
Is non-farm payroll on Friday? I think it is.
I believe it is. Yeah, I believe it is. Unless they changed it because of the holiday, but I don't know that they
It
did.
is. It is
It is.
definitely. Yep.
Okay.
And there's an announcement at 8:15 here too that could have impact on the U.S. dollar and gold.
Yeah, we actually did see that too, CB. It was, yeah, it was, and yeah, it was an ADP employment change. I don't know what all that means, but
Yeah.
that's at 8:15, and that's going to be in another, 10 minutes, 11 minutes. It is a red folder announcement. It does affect the U.S. dollar, so this could be, it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. I don't know. Let's see how much room we have to the upside. It's not really a bag trade. Didn't bounce off of anything. It's just basically more of just a pullback. I don't know. It does show strength to the upside. And it's only 14 pips. It still wouldn't qualify for the trade. Do I think it could go on up and maybe grab a few pips? Yeah. Right now, I think US yen. Where's our? The yen is weak. The dollar is strong on the lower time frames. If you're going to get into it, I'd say do it now. Don't be waiting too long. But yeah, this was the alert right here, and the target would be in this area right there. And that's basically, you have roughly about 10, 15 pips, but you're going to have all these wicks over here. I always like to look at the target being, because I expect to see where the body of where this move came down. I would expect it may come up into this area possibly, and probably actually, but I usually cut my target down to where those zones are, and that would be 8 pips. And I would be looking at this trend line on the bottom here to, if it broke that, then I'd be looking at getting out of it.
There's a Euro AUD on the 5-minute alert. It's counter trend, but there's a potential wedge breakout. It's like it's been consolidating for the last actually since yesterday. So
Euro AUD, you said?
yeah, on the 5. It's been consolidating pretty good. It looks like it might be the bottom of a run. So, but this would be a counter trend trade. You see that
yeah,
big consolidation right there, that big wedge? That is a nice wedge setup.
This one right here.
Yeah. But here you're going to be going against all those red zones. I just thought I'd bring that to your attention, see if there's something you see.
I'm not seeing much here to do anything with it.
No.
I kind of like the idea. I kind of like this as almost like a bank induction. The problem is it's going in the wrong direction. It would be if it's for a contra trend induction and going up to the upside, then I would say, yeah. The trend that Matt, I believe, is talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, you were talking about this area in here.
Exactly. And all the way down to that left there.
Here,
yeah.
This one. And bring
that somewhere up. There. Right there.
Here's
boom.
A hit. Here's a hit. So there's
That's what I would do.
Yeah, and you can see, I agree with that. And what you see here where, I like the fact that I like using this, but the problem you run into is that when you still have to get through that pivot. And when you get a pivot comes down and rejects off before right about or a little bit higher or about the same level, And now I just have to slide this thing down. And now that was the first attempt to break through the bottom. That was the first attempt to try and break through the bottom of that. It didn't work. But now, after it comes back down and chisels away at this, now if you get a break and a reject, then you may have a chance, but it's going to have to take out this zone. Right now, you still have, it's still consolidating inside this bigger wedge. There is some room to the, I don't know if there's much room to the upside here. It would be contra trend if we are in a downtrend. So you still wouldn't be taking it short. So you wouldn't be taking off a bounce up here. All of our moving averages are in the correct direction. Our 200s above our arrow moving average. We had near crossover up here. It was rejected. And now if you get the breakout somehow, and we do have another little secondary wedge where we have strong move down. This is a strong move down, came back up, retesting this. There's anchor, here's a hit. Come on down and see what happens. If this thing can start, if it can break out of the bottom, then this is the upper trend line that's going to be, should be following. And we actually have another secondary wedge in here. So this is where we start getting wedges inside of wedges. That tells me it's usually probably getting pretty close to wanting to be breaking out. Down. So right now it's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter inside the bigger picture. Now the question is, where is it going to break? And just have to wait and see. But right there is no trade yet. You can almost always find a reason not to take a trade, but if you can have a hard time finding a reason not to take it, those are the ones you want to take. Right now, it just tells me that this just needs some time, but the thing is, wherever it breaks, it's breaking right up into a zone, and it's probably you're probably going to get some heat. Have to take some heat if you get into it down here. You're going to take some heat. It'll probably come back up and bounce around a bit before it finally starts to.
Yeah, I think the only that would be taken in there is it would have to be a clean break of those trend lines.
Yeah.
So it's not a setup for now. It's going to be a setup for later on. There might be a play there, but
even if you look and see like this strong extended range candle, and I like looking at those. And when you get a candle like that, that shows some real commitment to it, the downside. Here's the anchor, here's the break, here's the break, came back down, came back, retested. But you can see where, I mean, this little move right in here is.
Yeah, that's powerful.
That's a powerful
big deal.
move. And that was an 18 pip move. Well, what time was that? That was, but there again, that was a strong move. That was a strong commitment to move, but it just came right down and drove it right down into, which was right where the buyers were waiting. This is almost a little bit of I could almost say this is almost like a market maker move here, where it goes down and it's going to launch it to the upside. What time was that? That was at 13, so that was 7 hours ago. Be about 6 o'clock this morning.
Excuse me, Al.
Yes.
Josh would like us to take a look at the pound New Zealand on the 15 because it's close to getting out of the moving average for Arrow.
Pound New Zealand.
Thank you.
I don't have an alert though.
Yeah, I don't get one either, but let's take a look and see what we got here.
No, there isn't.
15 minute. Okay, so this could, well, we're in an uptrend. So we are in an uptrend. Move that arrow up. So we got a zone here. We have, let's see. The zone. This is yesterday's zone. It's making a higher money zone. Had this whole move down, came back down, made a low, lower high. And now it's like this thing's starting to, when you look at the overall money zone, if you look at that as a one candle of the money zone from 3 days ago, yesterday it made here's a high, here's a lower high, here's a low, here's a lower low. and now it made a higher high as it's starting to turn around. This is kind of like where you can start looking at your M's and W's from a higher time frame, because really they may make more difference on a higher time frame than it does on a lower time frame. We are in an uptrend. So now if we could get a nice little move, if we can get a nice arrow down into this green zone, that'd make what I would say almost be a classic bank induction move, where it's starting to come back in, retest it came out, come back in, retest the zone. We have a little bit of a trend from here to here to here. This thing
Yeah,
looks
you
like
got a pretty good price channel there
a
from
very nice little channel right into here. It came all the way down to, this was
Bingo.
the money zone there. Let's get the objects. Oops, what happened there? Put this one right in there. And we got that. And we're in an uptrend. We're getting a bounce. I like this little wick right here. Long, strong move down. Came back up and was rejected. Let's go to 5 minutes, see if there's anything on a 5-minute chart here that might be of some value.
Pepper got you.
I'd be a kind of a, if I was just looking strictly price action, I'd be looking at maybe being a buyer down there, and then we have the zone up the top here. It could take all day to get up there, but we'll see what happens with this. British New Zealand.
That's a weird noise.
That was my phone.
Oh, I was like, all right. Al's getting abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
Well, there, look at that. We just got an alert on the pound New Zealand.
Okay, there you go.
On a 15 minute? On a 15 minute?
Yeah, 15 minutes.
There you go, Al. It's up on yours now.
Yep. Okay.
He was faster.
Yeah. Why are you faster?
Because I'm me.
Because you're in Canada.
She's on a Mac. That's why.
I'm on, exactly. Thank you.
Oh,
Kristen.
that must be it.
You didn't want to point out the obvious.
All right. So let's just see what it does. We had see if this thing can drive back down again. It is showing a down arrow and an uptrend. Looks like it's trying to bounce off of this trend line. Let me pull up my template here. Here's my money zone, and open trade would be price 196.74. And target 1.9694. I'd be more apt to take this to the upside than the downside. Again, this looks like it's in an uptrend. Definitely in an uptrend. I would want to see maybe I'd be more apt to have an entry with a break above the tops of these candles right here, maybe a close above the arrow moving average, get the bounce, and then having the stop on the other side of this green zone. And then the target could be here, or you could even move it on up to maybe the origin of this area right up in here. This would be the origin of the down move. And we have a little trend line off of this. It could go a little bit, it could go deeper in here. There's the anchor. There's a near hit. This is a low. Here's a higher low. I'm going to use a second higher low. It may catch this one. It may not. I'll use it off of this. Maybe take it up and use. I usually allow one breach of the trend line. I like to see it earlier on than right here, but look at the bodies of the candles, which is right about where this thing breached, came back and rejected it. British, New Zealand. Yeah, right now it's still kind of no real clarity as far as the strength between the British pound and the New Zealand dollar. There's no real clarity right now between who's gonna. They're both kind of fighting for they'll put the strength, which one's going to be stronger. And they're sort of battling it out right now. That's one reason why it's kind of going sideways. Do we have our announcement? We had our announcement. What happened with the U.S. dollar? Anything happened with the U.S. dollar? Let's take a look at the Euro U.S.
Yeah, Garvin said the ADP NFP was in the negative, below the actual expectation.
Okay.
And, all right. And what does that mean?
Yeah. Does that mean it's gonna go? There's a weakness in the.
Let's see. It really. I mean, if this was 8:15 right here. I mean, it was kind of, to me, it was kind of a non-event. I don't think it moved the market. See, that's U.S. to the euro, 17.28. It only moved the market maybe 8 pips, which is kind of a normal range anyway. So it was kind of a non-event.
I do have another question for you, though, Al. The markets are closed on Friday, being Good Friday. What about Monday? Are the markets closed in the U.S. on Monday?
Are the markets closed, or are they just trading a reduced schedule?
Well, up here it's a stat holiday Friday. I assume it is in the Christian world.
Yeah. Well, I know, but a lot of times they'll close the markets. Maybe trade like half a day. Let me take a look and see if I can find that. Let me get my Forex Factory. See what the Forex Factory says on that for Friday. Friday. That's going to be Friday is
Friday should be closed.
April 2nd. April 2nd.
I had to reload my Arrow dashboard. I was doing some funky stuff.
Friday, bank holiday. It looks like it's a bank holiday all day.
On Friday.
I'm a little surprised that they're doing the non-farm payroll on Friday with the banks being closed. Or are they? Let's see, 8:30 average hour. See, I'm not so sure. Here's the Forex Factory. Here's Friday. Bank holiday on the Swiss, German bank holiday, British bank holiday, CAD bank holiday. Not seeing a U.S. bank holiday. Maybe we don't celebrate Easter anymore.
Maybe reduced.
Daylight savings time shift. That was New Zealand. Non-farm employment change.
No, maybe they're releasing the numbers anyway.
Is that non-farm employment change? Is that different than non-farm payroll?
Now you got me really questioning things, Al.
I wonder about that. It is certainly red folder at 8:30, so obviously it looks to me like
I think that's what it is.
the U.S. is still doing something here on Friday. Nobody else is, but apparently we are.
That's odd.
No,
Right.
no, it's
And on
not,
Monday, you have
not in the
Monday-
environment we're living in. This is that odd.
But on Mondays, you have a lot of European holidays, bank holidays. They were great.
Yes, so we do. Bank holidays on. So next Monday, Swiss bank holiday, bank holiday, bank holiday. It's going to be a slow start of the week next week. Yeah, I guess everybody celebrates Easter but us.
Well, you guys are closed on Friday though, on the Good Friday for the markets.
I didn't say where we were closed.
I'm looking at the U.S. stock market holidays. 2021, April 2nd is closed for Good Friday.
Friday, March 26th. This is last week.
So it's open on Monday then, is what
Tuesday,
it's.
Wednesday, Thursday. Here's more. Here's Friday. Swiss bank holiday. British bank holiday. Canadian bank holiday. I do not see bank holiday on the US dollar on Friday. Trade at your own will. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, I can't imagine you guys are going to be open on Good Friday.
A lot of times what they'll do on days like Good Friday, well, you know, I don't know. I anymore, I don't know what's happening.
I know my Chase branch closes at 3:00, but they're open.
But that's
Yeah.
the banks. I'm talking about the markets. I saw that the
Oh,
market.
no.
Well, but the banks,
I-
the banks, and the markets are generally still hand in hand. If it's a bank holiday, the banks
know
should be
what difference
closed. I would think.
They're
I-
saying it's closed on April 2nd. The markets are, the US stock market holiday is closed.
Where are you seeing that they're
That's what
closed?
they're saying.
Where are you seeing that?
Market beat.
Okay.
Okay. No,
Looking on market beat.
I'm
Actually,
gonna be closed on Good. I'm gonna be closed on Good Friday.
Yeah, I am not doing none of this on Good Friday. But Rich has a great comment there. Ali's saying, I like your trend arrow. I actually have to zoom all the way out to see the trend. How do I get it to show up like that?
The trend arrow?
Yeah.
You mean this arrow or this arrow?
He likes it.
This one?
Yeah.
Just come up here to your little toolbar. There's a little thing that says a little up and down. And just click on this little area right there. There's a little drop down, and it has a little arrow up and arrow down. And what's nice about this is I can put it here, and then if we see where it starts going up, and I start seeing green zones, or I see this red zone go away, I know that the trend is starting to change a little bit. If it starts chewing away at some of these red zones.
Hey, Al.
Yes.
So do me a favor for conversation purposes here. Go to the Swiss yen
Okay.
and start off by looking at the 5-minute chart for the Swiss yen.
Swiss yen. It's over here someplace. Swiss
While
yen.
you're pulling that out, Garvin actually answered your question about the ADP report. It's actually just a prediction of the Friday's NFP report.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like a forecast more or less. Rich, it's not an indicator. It's not systematically generated. It's just manually generated. So it's up to you.
And CB, I'll bet you asked that question because you have the new Aero dashboard one that had a 5-minute Swiss yen on it. Didn't you?
Yeah, well, you look at if this was on the 15-minute chart, right? This is a freaking perfect bag entry. And the reason I want to now, if you go to the 15-minute, there isn't an arrow, and there isn't a green zone, but you could almost see a zone at the bottom of the money zone today. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yep. You sure can.
It's an interesting trade. I mean, You got room above the the arrow MAs above the 200 moving average.
This may actually be a tradable trade here. That's 14 pips.
Oh, is it only 14 pips? Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Well,
But you know what? If you're on a 5-minute chart, if you can get 14 pips as opposed to 20
yeah,
pips on a
I was
15
almost thinking
chart,
about a 10 pip trade here.
well,
I like
yeah, and I think 10 pip trade, I think that's a valid trade. And it just looks to me like it'd be almost like a bank conduction. Well, yeah, not really bank conduction, but it certainly drove down, came back down, formed a wick, gave you an arrow, bounce, arrow. I'm gonna take this one. I like this one. Oh, let me double check one more thing here. Swiss. I'll double check my heat map and see where the Swiss and the yen are.
Yeah, generally that's a
this-
strong rejection. That's what you like from that zone there.
Yeah,
that big-
the Swiss is getting strong to the yen on a couple different charts. I'm gonna take this one. I'll take this one on a buy. Swiss yen, Swiss yen, Swiss yen. And we're not going to go for the full 20. I'm going to go for 10 on this one. So I
Yeah,
change
that's
this
what I'm
to
that's what I'm gonna do too.
modify. I'm going to use a 20 pip stop. I'm going to use a 10 pip target, which is basically 200 versus 100. And here's my target. Here's my stop. Here's my entry. Here it is. It's all set. And you can see right now, I could almost even take it up, maybe even a little bit higher to maybe the top of these wicks. But you also have this little rejection here. So that's anywhere between here and the bottom of this little wick right here that I'm pointing to. Looks like it'd be a good target. Sometimes, and a lot of times what we'll do is we'll split the difference for say 7 pips. Go with 70 on this one. That would be 7 pips. And that brings it down just a little bit closer. Like I said, if you can get 5 or 7 pips, you can do a 2% on your account. Lot size is bigger with a smaller stop. Let me pull that calculate that indicator up. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. There's a calculator. Let's say you have a $1,000 account and you're looking at a 20 pip stop, which would be, I think, 20 pips. I think we just use pips here. And we have a 2% risk. You're risking $20 and you can take a lot size of a 0.10 lot size. If
And
you
Al, I think
yes.
I think you can tighten up your stop loss to about 15 pips, right
Okay.
below the lowest wick there.
And then you can see how you just add another 50% of your lot size. You went from a 0.01 to now 0.14. You can take a 0.14. You're still only risking $20, and with a 2% risk. And you can see how the lot size changes. Look at this again. If let's say I have 40 pip, look at the lot size right now, 0.14. If I go to 40 pip stop, my lot size now went down to a 0.05. Still only risking $10. Still risking 2% of my account. If I can tighten the stop, that's why I said the stop is basically your profit regulator. And you go to a 15 pip stop, you're at you take three times the lot size, same risk, same percentage of your account, and that would be with the Swiss yen. Okay, come up here to the Swiss yen, find out the Swiss yen, make sure we get the value of the Swiss yen. Here's the value of the Swiss yen. Pretty much the same thing here. It hasn't really changed much as far as the lot size go. Okay. And again, we're working on making that available. It should be available. It should, if Auvoria Prime can't get available in their back office, then we'll just make it available for you folks. We'll give you an avenue to get it.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
And so right now we have our trade set in there. And so I do like the fact that we can move this thing up. I didn't even like taking it to the bottom of the money where the daily's money zone is.
Yeah, that's where I put it right there. That's about 15,
Yeah,
just over 15
that's a good.
pips.
I think that's a good spot, and that way, where we get in, and to where that is, we're looking at 13, 14 pips. So just call it 15 pips. And that makes for a nice little barrier. We have the moving average. It crossed over the moving average. We have this moving average as a barrier. It came down, tagged the 200 moving average. And we are getting higher lows. And right now, if it breaks through the low of the money zone, then we know we're in the wrong direction. We might as well get out of the trade.
A little bit of a W, isn't that a little bit of a W there too? The last leg of the,
this little thing right here. Yep.
yeah.
And we had
to
the
get real
break.
creative.
Yeah, well, I kind of like, because when I like seeing a down move, this I usually look at this as being the first leg of the W. There's the bottom, I'll call it the hip, I guess, of a W. And then we come up to the, oops, I don't want to change that. There's the top of it. There's the middle of the W. Here's the left hip. And what I like seeing is I like seeing the left hip a little bit higher than the right hip. So we have a trend line. Keep grabbing the wrong one. I like seeing a little bit of an upward slope on that, and I like seeing that when this price breaks the top of this. That tells me that this thing's going to start heading on up to the upside, and then your next move would be from here on up to that way. There's your W. Now that doesn't mean that this thing's not going to come back and retest this trend line again, but this was the break of the middle of strong move down, came back up, tested this one, going to make it higher, came back lower. So now you have a higher low. Now you have a higher high. And then you can actually even be looking at where you might be getting another trend line going from, actually this peak right here. This is where it was rejected from. Once it can get pulled back and then go up higher. And we could have here's a new trend, upward trend. It could go very shallow, it could go a lot deeper, but right now we can see that there's our channel. Here's our upper part of the channel. Here's the lower part of the channel. And as it comes back, and we'll just have to wait and see what this part does. This is the overall direction that I'm looking at. It's kind of a geometry class. Here's our triangle. Here's our moving average. Here's our moving average. As long as it can stay inside this triangle, we're in great shape and we're coming up to our target. So it may take all the way up until this time, 16:30. That'd be about 10:30. It may take us till 10:30 or so. That I would expect it maybe to take that long, or it could just pop up there in the next 5 minutes. We don't know. But right now, I'm saying is right now this is the playground it's playing in right now. This little triangle right here. As long as it stays within that, you can always maybe buy pullbacks, but it is somewhat in an uptrend. And that's all I have to say about that. Questions? Does any of this make sense, or is this really confusing?
That's good stuff, Al.
Yeah, it's great.
So it's kind of like being in geometry class, just trying to find parabolics and parabolas and parallels and wedges.
Yeah, everything else starts
find
with
the
a P.
triangle. Find the triangle and see if it's trading inside a certain triangle. Like it was trading inside this triangle here, and it broke out. Now it's playing inside this one. But I like the fact that this, I mean, we're constantly looking for M's and W's, and I always look for the W from a strong move down, comes back up, retest a higher low, and then get the breakout of here's the first rejection of this price, rejected, came back out, retested it, came up. That's the beginning of the W right there. When this one broke this point right here, that's the beginning of the W. Now, if it breaks to the bottom, then it was a head fake, but you just have to take your shot at it and go for it. We'll keep an eye on this. We have plenty of room to the debt. We could have a fairly tight stop. So if it does break to the bottom here, it probably is going to go lower because right now it's maintaining this moving average right now. had a couple breaches of it, but the arrow moving average hasn't crossed over yet. It's still in an uptrend. And again, this is just a pullback. This may give you a little bit better entry. And we'll see. Questions about that?
We're good here.
Let's see here. We got.
Just have another question about the calculator.
Yes. What might that be?
Where can you find it? Like, it's the never-ending question.
Yeah. You're going to find it. I'm going to give a website. I'm going to put it in the chat box. Just send me an email with, send me an email to that address, and we will put you on the list to get it. If we can't, I'm going to check with Bill Wynn today and see where they're at with getting it into the back office. And you can email me at that. And if you have a TradingView account, give us, just make a note that you have a TradingView account and you want that RCS tool, and we'll see what we can do about that. The RCS tool that we have only works on TradingView. So if you don't have TradingView, that's not going to do you much good. But we'll see about getting that PIP calculator. We just make sure that people that get the PIP calculator are Auvoria Prime members. That's probably the biggest thing that we want to make sure. I'm not sure how many people in here are not members of Auvoria Prime. But I know some people are on trial basis and checking it out. Most everybody should be. I'll take a little bit of heat on this trade right here. But we planned our trade, we're trading our plan. Our stop is below. In fact, maybe just want to move it just a little bit. Well, if this trend line holds, it should hold. I'd like to maybe move this back down just a little bit, just so that spread doesn't get me. Just get just a little bit out of harm's way.
I've got a question on your trend line drawing, though, Al.
Okay.
How do you draw the trend lines so that they're short length? Tosaporn is saying that when I use trend lines, each line is very long and I can't seem to shorten them.
Well, mine just already defaulted to however
I can answer that, guys.
Okay, there you go. Take that.
So you go, if you like, Al, if you were to double click any one of your trend lines right now and then go to the properties for it, trend line properties. Yep. And then go to parameters. You see it says Ray. If you have Ray checked, guys, then the lines can go all the way across. If you have it unchecked, then you can limit the size of it.
Thank you, CB. That's a quick answer that a lot quicker than I could have found. Yeah, so here's the trend line properties.
That's great.
And yeah, here on parameters, this is where you can put your starting point and your ending point, the values. And then here's the little box for the array. So, and I usually keep mine unchecked. And if I uncheck it, and they'll probably see it goes back to just where I put the line. Thank you, CB. Good question.
No worries.
And we can delete that. Any other things we should be looking at while we're still here? We only have about another 10 or 15 minutes.
Looks like we got a bounce off the 200 there on our our Swiss yen
Swiss
trade
yen.
there.
Strong move down. And a lot of time, I'll tell you, a lot of times you see these strong move downs. All that's doing is coming driving right down into where the supply is or where the demand is, and then it takes off. A lot of times you get these little small little wicks coming in and out and out. But when you get that strong extended range candle, it drives right into, and that's where, because lots of what they're doing is they're saying, hey, this thing's going straight down. So people say, oh, I'm going to jump on real quick while I get it. And that's where they get everybody to take that sell. And when you're selling, guess who's down here? They're buying those sells. Same way up here, strong, well, let's see, this one, strong move up. All the sellers were up here, and people, and it's just human nature. They say, well, I don't want to miss this train. So they come in, they're buying. Well, if you're buying up here, the thing is going to go up higher. Guess who's up here selling to? It's selling all those buys. If you're buying, somebody's selling. If you're selling, somebody's down here buying. And I like these strong move down into these zones. That's usually a pretty good indication. Just like this candle right here. It was a strong move down. All the buyers are right down here. People are coming in. Oh, I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell because I'm getting stopped out because you're thinking that it just broke this little wedge right here on the bottom. It broke the wedge. Oh, I'm going to sell. And who did they sell to? They sold to all the buyers sitting right down here.
Hey, Al,
Yes.
go back to the pound kiwi 15 minute. I know we were kind of looking at that as a bank induction. It's come back down now. This might be a pretty good trade.
Strong move down. Right. There's an arrow. Didn't quite make the zone. Came back down, rejected. And we pound kiwi. Well, it wasn't.
We have a few.
No, New Zealand cat. So we can. So right now, remember, this is the area where, let me grab this one. Here's right where this candle came down, it broke the trend line. This one is right here where it came down. So this is a zone right here from this wick, higher close, low, higher low, came back down. If this thing comes back down in this area, you still may want to be a buyer in this, as long as it just broke this trend line. Now the question is did it break it strong enough to where it's going to come on down? I don't know the answer to that question. Now, are we in an uptrend or are we in a downtrend? That's the first question to ask. We're in an uptrend. Here's the target. So I'll be looking at the bottom of here. I'll take a look at this Kiwi pound, but take a look at the Kiwi CAD here real quick. Kiwi CAD. We had an alert.
A little too close to the red zone.
Yeah, a little too close. I can't wait till this weekend so I can get that dashboard on. I didn't want to put it on while I had to do my VPS. I had other trades going on the VPS. So I elected not to load it up this week, but we've got people like CB and Matt that have it. So you can be informed of the different time frames that are coming up.
Yeah. Got so we had those two Kiwi CAD alerts. We got the Euro AUD that came up, but I didn't take a look at that one yet. Remember, I saw it on the 5.
Oh yeah, that was a no trade too. So we're on an uptrend. Gonna put the arrow in. For those of you who want to see this again, here's the arrow, drop down, arrow up. Get the arrow, put it right here by the zone. That way, when I come back, I can look and see, oh, we're in an uptrend. Now, I need to check it periodically because sometimes it does change, but for the most part, it doesn't change that rapidly. And so we're in an uptrend. Here's a bounce arrow go, but you can see this would be the better arrow to be taken on this one. This is more of it's not a little bit of a pullback, but it's still in the same kind of mode here. This is actually pulling back right to where this one was. That might be I don't know if there's enough. This was where this arrow was generated up here. This arrow was generated quite a bit further back. So let's just take it back to here. And actually the price is coming right back to where this one was generated. It's still in an uptrend. We have two arrows. This was a pullback. So it's kind of like a rejection. I'm looking at a trend on here where we have, here's the high, here's an anchor, there's a hit, here's a hit, there's a hit, and here's the head fake. Drive it up, right up into the zone. I'd still be a little bit leery about this one. Here's where the arrow was, and up here you're looking at 5 pips. Not near enough room. Even if it comes down to where that first arrow was, I'm not thinking there's enough room here. That's only 9 pips. Not enough room to take the trade. I'm looking, this might be more of a possibility. This may be coming into, here's a low, here's a lower low, here's a high. It's making high, lower low, lower low, lower low. This could be starting to turn around a little bit. Making lower highs, and it's making lower lows. From here, here was a wedge. Actually, no, this candle's all the way down here. Made a lower low, lower low. Here's the channel. It's starting to make a turn. It's starting to turn around a little bit. And close that out. Anything else showing up on your radar there, CB or Matt?
Not right now. The one I'm still kind of keeping my eye on is the pound kiwi. It rejected off that trend line pretty good, and it's above the arrow moving average. So we may get an up arrow soon here, which would be a pretty nice looking trade.
We are in a uptrend.
Yep.
And let's go and scrunch this back a little bit. Get my arrow in there, arrow up, right in this area right here. Here's our money zone. Let's widen this out a little bit. Oh, let's see. Gonna make sure we just keep an eye on this little pivot right here. Gonna keep our eye on this pivot right here. I kind of like this. I kind of like this zone right here to take it long, actually. It's going to go a little bit deeper, but we have these two pivots. Let me pull that down just a little bit.
That's what I was going to say. If you do that, yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah, that trend line goes way down there, doesn't it, Al?
Yeah. It does. Yeah. I just saw it. Here's the anchor. Here's a hit. Let's adjust that a little bit to this hit. Here's an anchor. Here's a hit. Near hit. Near hit. There's the third hit off of this area. Coming on down. If it comes back down, if it breaks this trend line, I would think this could be a trap right in here between these two lines. Because you got this pivot and you have this pivot and still making higher. As long as it doesn't take out this pivot, it's still making higher lows. And that could be, and this would be maybe a buying opportunity. Between here and here, I'd be looking at a buying opportunity. If it breaks the blue line, then it could start making, and then it's making, that could be that last little part of the M, then come back up and retest it. But from the M standpoint,
Another interesting thing, Al, with this particular pair that you get from the dashboard is the average daily range over the last 10 days for this pair, the pound kiwi, is 164 pips, and we've only moved 73 today. So it tells me obviously there's a lot of room still in the money zone here to go up or down.
Does that dashboard tell you the average daily range?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
It does.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, well, that's pretty exciting.
Well, there's 7 minutes until the next call. Today I can't
Okay.
host it because I've got
Who's hosting it today?
started
Do you know?
working. Not sure.
Maybe you are, CB.
I cannot. So I hope there's somebody. I have
No,
family
it's-
in here. I'm about to step out actually.
Okay. Well, we certainly do appreciate you coming in and helping us out here.
Hopefully we hit a decent trade there with the Swiss yen.
Yeah, let's we're taking a little bit of heat. Let's take a look at
Yeah, it
this
just
before
kind
we
of
go.
went through that
Did it?
play
Well,
area.
one thing about it, we had a tight stop on it.
Yeah.
It was but you know, I said my stop is still way down here. It still hasn't broken through the bottom of this
Right.
trend line right yet.
It did go through the 200 moving average though, which is
Yeah,
a little troublesome.
yeah, but it still hasn't broke. We still have now this one had a little bit of a lower high than this mark right in here. Let me see. I'll take a real quick look at this before we go. Here's the low. See, here's the low right here. This was pretty much a double bottom right there. This one's coming down to retest that same. It's basically it's retesting the trend line. Our stop is down here. If we get a break and a close below, then I'm gonna be out of it. If I see this thing come down, close, come back up and retest it, and can't break in back into the wedge, then I'll be out of this trade and I'll just have a small. I'll decrease my loss.
Yep.
Because that tells me that the momentum's starting to change a little bit. Just keep an eye on this. Swiss yen, 5-minute sell. So it just gave us now this could be, now are we on if we are in an uptrend, which I think we are, that could be a bank induction. Are we in an
Yep.
uptrend?
Now though, but the problem is we also just got a new red zone there, Al. So now it's looking a little, but that's
yeah,
on the 5-minute. What's the 15-minute look like?
That's a good question.
Yeah, the 15-minute, we obviously was not where we took this trade, but there's nothing in the way on the 15-minute.
Yeah. I still like it better for long. The only problem I can see was if it comes back down to if it breaks through this area, it's probably going to come and retest this.
Yep.
And if it does that, then you can maybe just reverse your position and use this for the target. And then we are getting into the contra trend zone at 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We are in a contra trend zone here. And there's nothing wrong with taking a small stop, reversing positions if you're wrong, and then catching up on the reversal. Because actually, if it breaks this, and if it comes down, comes back up, and we can get into a short here, now we're looking at 17 pips to the downside. We're only looking at 7 pips or 10 pips to the upside, 15 pip stop. If you break that, if you have a 15 pip stop, you can pretty much maybe break even by the time it gets down to this area, if it does break this little zone. But I wouldn't give up on it yet.
It's testing it right now.
Yep. Let's take a look, see what it does on what it looks like on a 1 minute here. We got a minute or two here before we have to go. Now that was a close. Come back up. If this thing comes back up and retests, you still have this zone it's got to get through though. Swiss yen, Swiss yen. Swiss is still weak. The yen is strong. This is where it's starting to. Yeah, the Swiss is starting to lose ground here. Swiss is weak on all 4 time frames. Swiss is weak. I'm going to bail on this one.
Darn it.
Yeah, I bailed on it.
I did too. Yeah, it's moving pretty hard down.
If it can break through this zone, I may take it short. We're on a 1 minute chart, but let's see what it looks like on the 5 minute. That's a strong move down. Come back. If it comes back up and retest this, it is breaking the low of the money zone for the day. It's making new lows on that. It did break through the 200 moving average. I'd like to see a little bit of a retracement, but we are showing strength of the yen strength. Actually, I'm seeing more of Swiss weakness than yen strength. Came back down. Let's see what it does. This could have just been a head fake too. But it didn't. The fact that it couldn't hold this made me think that things are starting to change a little bit. And with that, we're just about out of time. And any other last questions before we go?
No
If not, we will
questions.
see everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
We'll
We'll
see everybody. Sorry we didn't do a winning trade on this one, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Actually, if you're still in it, it still could turn around. We didn't get a close on this 5 minute chart, but I didn't like the way it was reacting there. So anyway, we'll see everybody. Keep your powder dry, stay green, stay disciplined, and have patience. And if not, if with that, we will see everybody tomorrow.